Hi, good afternoon. Today I would like to talk about what is so unique about a corn grain, a dried corn grain that lets a person to change it into popcorn by heating it. You don't always see other cereals, their grains being used to make a pop or something similar to a popcorn. And I would like to talk about the physics of how a popcorn is cooked and why a corn grain is so unique. So initially, when you want to make popcorn, you would first um, use a pan and heat the pan, put some oil in it, wait for a few moments for the oil to be heated up, and then you take a spoonful of whole grains of corn, the dried ones, and then you put it in the pan, and then you close the lid of the pan, and then for some time one would wait for the corn grains to be cooked. And before actually going forward, I would like to tell that I would like to call the corn grains, the dried corn whole grains, as corn kernels. So when the corn kernel is getting cooked, it is getting heated. I would like to tell you about what happens to the interior sections of a corn kernel. For that, first we should know what corn kernel is made up of. So inside a corn kernel, firstly there is a very strong outer shell which protects the inner components from the outer environment, and within the outer shell uh, there is there is a thing or a material that would be responsible for the growth of a new plant, and this is called a germ. And then the new plant also requires its food, and the food is also stored in the form of starch, in the form of certain granules of starch, and the food is called an endosperm. So inside the tough outer shell of the corn kernel is a germ and an endosperm. So as the pan in which the corn kernels are put gets heated up, it is the germ and the endosperm that get heated up. And even before that, I would like to tell you one more thing. The most important thing is the starch which I talked about. Starch is a white substance which is found mostly in a plant tissue and predominantly in cereals and potatoes. And it's a store of carbohydrates. This starch, which is present in the form of granules inside the corn kernel, consists of water, a lot of water. In fact, the corn kernel, within the corn kernel, there is starch having 14% water, and that is of very important consequence. Let me go ahead. So, as the pan heats up, the water inside the starch also heats up. It evaporates, and slowly at 100 degrees centigrade, there'll be more and more molecules of steam that would be produced within the corn kernel. And these will be the fast moving molecules, and they would be hitting within themselves. The molecules will collide. The molecules will also hit the interior of the outer strong shell, and therefore there would be a buildup of pressure. And as time goes by and as temperature keeps increasing, there'll be more and more of these steam molecules that will be produced out of water, manufactured from water, that 14% water in starch. And these fast moving molecules, as always, would hit the interior of the outer shell. There'll be a temperature at which these fast moving, strong hitting molecules of steam within the interior of the outer shell would cause the outer shell to almost start to break. The purpose of the outer shell was to shield the interior content from the outside world. But this time, as the corn kernels are getting heated up, the outer shell is having to fight with the interior than the exterior world. So, before actually telling you what happens to the outer shell, ultimately it will crack and break. I'll describe to you that in a moment. Even before that, the starch, the carbohydrate, the store of carbohydrate also changes to some extent in a certain way. It gets cooked as the corn kernels keep heating up. It gets cooked into a certain thick, viscous, sticky, white substance, a compact substance. And this kind of a substance, I would like to call it as gelatinous glue. Gelatinous means jelly like. Goo is the white compact substance. So, as the pan keeps heating up, there is a formation of steam within the corn kernel as well as the gelatinous goo. At a temperature of 180 degrees centigrade, slowly the outer shell of the corn kernel starts to crack. The pressure inside the corn kernel becomes 10 times that of what is outside it, the normal pressure. And as one shakes the pan, they would they would find that they will hear some dull pops inside the pan, and after few moments these pops get stronger and stronger and they hit against the lid of the pan. Ultimately, it is an expression of the fact that the outer kernel has given in, the outer kernel has broken down. Not only the outer kernel, the lid also lifts to some extent because of the pressure or the steam within the corn kernel. Some amount of steam also puffs out of the corn kernel and it also escapes from the edge of the lid. But at this stage, you don't get to see the kind of popcorn that you see in the movie theaters and all. At this stage, only thing that has happened is the strong outer shell had broken, and the expression of that was seen in the strong pops of the popcorn. There is still some more work to do to make it the actual popcorn. So there is this gelatinous goo. It is very compact, it is very white, and there is pressure of steam within the goo. There is no more that outer shell, and this pressure or the steam within the gelatinous glue keeps increasing. But there's a limit. There's a limit to which it increases to, and that limit is the amount of atmospheric pressure inside the pan. Until the time the pressure within the goo, the pressure of the steam molecule becomes equal to the atmospheric pressure, the pressure inside the goo keeps increasing. And when that point has reached, when the equilibrium or the pressure within and pressure outside has been reached, there won't be any more tension within the white compact substance, the gelatinous goo. And as the pressure keeps increasing within the goo, before it reaches the atmospheric pressure, the goo expands. The goo becomes light, the goo becomes soft, the goo becomes fluffy. And it is the precursor to what you see for a popcorn. And it is this fluffy white substance that cools and solidifies and that which you ultimately consume as popcorn. So once the popcorn is made, there are certain burnt pieces of corn grains or the corn kernels at the bottom of the pan. You might be wondering, What are these burnt pieces? Aren't they? They're very dark as well. They don't have a characteristic form of a popcorn. What are these burnt pieces, and why are they like that? Why did they even form in the first place? Logically, if one were to answer it, it could be because the tough outer shell of the corn kernel would have probably been damaged, because of which the water would have escaped out of the outer shell even before the pressure within the outer shell has increased. So if the pressure within the outer shell has not increased, there won't be any expansion of the gelatinous glue and ultimate breakup of the shell and cause it to form that white fluffy solidified substance. So it is the pressure of steam that is important, and that has not happened with regard to the dark brown burnt pieces, and that is why they are lying around there. That is one reason why those dark brown pieces are there. The second reason could be that the the corn kernel is too dry. What happens is sometimes the corn grains which are harvested at the wrong time, because of which there is not enough water inside the corn kernel, inside the inside the strong outer shell. And if there is no water, it's not possible for the pressure of steam to build up within the outer kernel, and within the starchy within the gelatinous goo. And it is the pressure within the gelatinous goo that should become same as the atmospheric pressure caused by the steam that should ultimately form the fluff. If there is no such pressure because there is no water, then the substance, the corn grain, lies at the bottom of the pan, burnt dark in color. And the most important question right now is it only corn that has water, which is causing it some pressure to form the white fluffy substance of the popcorn? No. Many of the grains have water in them, but the problem is the outer strong substance, the outer shell of those grains let the water escape through the boundary of that shell, because that shell is what one would say porous, let water escape. And once there is not enough water within the shell, once there is not enough water concealed inside the cell or restricted inside the shell for the pressure to build up, then it is not possible for one to see something like a popcorn or the white fluffy substance, the solidified cool substance. And so in effect, what you're actually seeing as the white fluffy soft solidified substance is an expression of the atmospheric pressure within the pan. You're in fact feeling the atmospheric pressure by looking at that fluffy white substance inside the pan. Hope you were able to, from this video, you were able to understand what happens inside a corn grain when it's heated, and how popcorn is formed, and why corn is so unique compared to rest of the cereals. Thank you.